Well, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us this morning during this rush hour. We're here today because, well, Doug Ford doesn't care about you. He'd rather spend $189 million on an unnecessary and expensive early election when he has a majority government, rather than investing in things that matter to people in our public transit system. We know that over 1 million people ride the TTC each and every day. And for myself and for others, there's situations where you just don't feel safe. You have people using the TTC as a shelter from somewhere to come in off the cold. And there are times on our subway cars where, quite frankly, you just feel unsafe. It could be in the middle of the day, it could be in the evening, you could be on your way to work, you could be riding with your children to drop them off at school. But the situation feels insecure. It feels unsafe. And that's something we want to address. We want people to ride public transit, and I want to make it as accessible and safe as possible. And so we are making some recommendations today that are easy fixes, just so people have the comfort of feeling more secure riding public transit, all forms of public transit. But in this very station, there have been issues. There have been issues at many of them, but at this very station, there have been assaults. Recently, there have been stabbings, and that's just not acceptable. And it's time for someone to stand up and to do something about it. So you will hear from us today. We have a little program on some simple things that we can do to make people feel safer riding the TTC. So certainly in the first, we would invest in 300 new constables. Secondly, we would train up more response teams, mobile crisis response teams that are equipped to responding to people with mental health crises. Thirdly, and simply, investment in more cameras and safety equipment. And then finally, and I know we all feel very strongly about this because it works in other cities where there are large transit systems, we would invest in those protective barriers at the foot of the doors that would stop people from falling over if being pushed, and would just control the flow of people. So those platform doors ahead of entering the train would give people a lot of safety and security. But we also know that there are people feeling unsafe and insecure when riding the cars right now during rush hour, late night coming home. And that's why we need a greater presence on our public transit system. So we're going to make it more accessible and safer for people to ride, especially with their young children. Thank you very much. I've got my team here with me today in the Scarborough area, and any of us are happy to take your questions.
Bonnie, why are you getting this specific with local transit? Is this not a municipal responsibility?
You know what? 1 million people ride the TTC in each and every day, and there's always this tug and push. Who's funding what? So I'm going to clear this up right here, right now. In Doug Ford's Ontario, people aren't feeling safe. I want people to feel safe. We will unroll a greater platform on community safety. Peter Ewan, one of our candidates, is going to lead that initiative. But today, it's about safety in public transit. And I don't want to have this tug of war on who's funding it. I'm going to lay it out right now that this is something we believe in and we will fund.
That's very specific to Toronto. Is there a reason why you're concentrating on this particular area?
Well, it's highest concentration of public transit use, but it may be applicable and useful on other transit systems as well. So certainly, we'll have to look at Ottawa. We'll be there over the weekend.
On transit, more broadly, the current government is building the Ontario line. They have other projects. With them and governments before them, they seem to have a problem in this province
Getting it done?
with delivering projects on time and on budget. Do you have any plans to come on how to keep costs down and make these
Yeah.
projects realistic?
I think you've pointed out, and you made an excellent point that Ford government has a number of outstanding transit projects in the work that they like to point to, but they just can't get it done. They're over budget, and there's even no news on the Eglinton Crosstown on when it will be completed. There's been a complete, again, abdication of responsibility. You saw the termination of the CEO, or the abrupt departure of the CEO, because no one's being held accountable. And that's true across the province with all the public transit initiatives, GO train lines that have been announced and nothing done, Upland Express announced, nothing done, Niagara GO trains, London, Ontario GO, all-day two-way GO train service on the Milton line, no progress, Ontario line, Eglinton Crosstown, highways in the north. It's just another announcement without a completion date, and without any commitment as to when it will be completed. But look, while that's all true, today's announcement is about safety on the TTC. I don't want people to feel insecure going to work in the morning or coming home late at night. And so that's what our announcement is about today. And of course, we'll be distributing these on the platform. I plan to ride into the office this morning and spend some time at the office. I often leave my car at Islington and Bloor, because my mom lives there, and take it into downtown, whether to Queen's Park or into our campaign office.
So just to be clear, would Premier Bonnie Crombie...
I like the sound of that. Can you say that again?
We'll say the next,
Premier Bonnie Crombie, that one?
Are you going to have a plan to improve
Yes.
how these major transit projects are built?
Yes, we will be unrolling a lot of initiatives with respect to public transit. Is something I completely believe in. I want to get people out of their cars and into public transit. That was true when I was mayor of the city of Mississauga, and it is true as the leader of this province.
So a specific dollar amount for how much you would give the TTC to make all these things happen?
Yes, so it will be costed, and we'll be announcing all our programs. They will be costed in the near future. It'll be part of a larger unveiling of our platform.
So are you considering increasing maybe the share of the gas tax that municipalities get in order to deliver transit?
Yes, that's one option. There are a number of options, and we will, when we make that announcement, as we unroll our platform, it will be clearer.
So on snowbirds, we've been hearing from some people who maybe spend the winters outside of Ontario. They're saying that they're concerned that they won't be able to vote given this winter election and given the shortness of the election. What's your response to that? Is that something you're hearing?
Actually, it's a very good question. I have had a number of I was out with a group of seniors last night who had made plans, of course, to their snowbirds, and they're heading down to maybe one of those warm U.S. states. They're concerned about the dynamics that may occur, but they want to have that opportunity to vote. I had someone approach me yesterday who is already out of the country, try to apply for voting, not online, what am I saying, out of country, mail-in vote, thank you, mail-in vote, and had a lot of difficulty even uploading their ID, which was their driver's license. It was blurry once they uploaded it, and they weren't accepting it. So there are a lot of challenges. Of course, this is a snap and election, an unnecessary, very expensive election, and of course they haven't thought through all the pitfalls, and one of them would be the number of people who may not be eligible to vote because they've had family plans during the month of February. This is very concerning for everyone, that they won't exercise their democratic right to vote because of these obstacles. So it is a challenge, it is a concern, and quite a number of residents have asked me, how do we correct these issues? So it is something we need to address with Elections Ontario.
So on this transit front, is this something that you've spoken with Mayor Olivia Chow about, spoken to the city about how it would even integrate with their plans?
We have not had that conversation yet, but I do have plans to sit down with the mayor and go over a number of initiatives and her needs. And she and I used to have those sit downs when I was the mayor and she was the mayor, and we would speak about our mutual needs as large city leaders. But I'm going to have those conversations with her on how else a Bonnie Crombie government can help her.
Just to follow up on Allison's question about
Yep.
cost of this.
Yep.
During the mayoral campaign here in Toronto, we just discovered that just putting screens up in all the subway stations, it's $2 billion, $35 million per station. Is that what you're prepared to?
that is the price of safety, then so be it. You know, how many million?
$35 million per subway station.
Sounds like, well, you know, we have another government that's ripping out bike lanes about that cost too. I would put money behind keeping people safe on the subway. Yes, I want people to ride the subway. We'll make it safe and secure as possible. Obviously, we would start with the most traffic stations like Yonge and Bloor, like St. George's, like Kennedy. So we would start with the high traffic stations and perhaps roll it out later.
Bonnie, just a question about something close to home for you in Mississauga. The Lakeview Village development. We talked about this about a year ago. You
We did.
told me about how, you know, that was essentially sprung on you while you were mayor, and that back then you had issues because of a lack of infrastructure.
That's correct.
I believe the government is now funding that, so I'm just wondering what you
What's-
would do with that now. Would you let that proceed if you're elected, or what's your plan on that front?
Well, I believe that project is proceeding. I mean, I'd like to take a look at it. I mean, I think it's a lot of density for one site, as you well know, but at the same time, we need housing, and we need affordable housing, so I would probably negotiate more affordable housing. I know they plan shuttles, but the concept was that they could have a GO train stop once the line was electrified, but there's been no progress in electrifying the GO train line, so we'd like to expedite that as well. That could be a solution. So, I mean, there are some challenges, but some of them can be overcome.
And would you leave the MZOs in place?
You know, I want to be consistent, and in the past I've always believed that MZOs have a place if you want to build affordable housing, if you want to build long-term housing, or there's a need. But to incentivize market rate housing is not where I would believe you would use an MZO. In fact, if we just clean up the rezoning process, we wouldn't need those MZOs, so that's another way to proceed.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about something Doug Ford said earlier this week. He told a police gala that he would build a new police college for $1 billion. So we tried to follow up. There were no other details coming from the party. No, you know, when, where, why. What do you make of this apparent promise?
It's an interesting announcement. So I believe strongly that we need to fund our police. As you well know, I served on the police board of the region of Peel, and I've been a strong supporter of police, whether they're Toronto Police Service right across our province. You know, if there is training facilities needed, I would certainly take a look at it. But I'm also aware that, you know, we have a lot of priorities here in Ontario. And for me personally, our top priority is to ensure that everyone has access to a family doctor and health care when they need it. I also know that, you know, we need to invest in our education systems because our classrooms are overcrowded and the infrastructure is crumbling. And we need to bring back affordability to Ontarians who can't afford their rent and their cell phone bills and can't make their mortgage payments. And while the $200 check is nice this month, if it doesn't bounce, what about next month? We have a plan that will cut taxes and will take the HST off home heating and hydro bills that will make life more affordable. We'll lower a middle income tax bracket by 22% for anyone earning $75,000 or less. So we will save people $1,050 a year. That's almost $100 a month. So we will make life more affordable for people, and we will build homes that are affordable. So there are a lot of priorities, but mine are about ensuring that everyone has access to a family doctor and health care when they need it.
Doug Ford likes to promise that he'll never raise taxes. Then he likes to attack you, saying that while you were mayor, you did. You released plans to cut certain taxes. And you also promised to never raise taxes.
Doug Ford promised to cut our taxes 7 years ago, and he never got it done. I'm telling you right here, right now, that my pledge is to cut taxes, and I will get it done. I'm going to cut the small business tax in half. I'm going to cut personal income tax on lower income earners, $75,000 and less, by 22%, and I will lift the HST off home heating and hydro, and I will get it done, and that is my commitment. Doug Ford made that promise, and after 7 years, he hasn't gotten it done. Thanks for coming today, guys. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.